Yeah, that's so cool!
How would you do that kind of like motion blur?
This is so much work. We're gonna be looking at old Dune and new Dune.
Dude, what is this story? Wait, seriously?
Today's episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Stick around to the end to see how you can get 3 months free when you sign up for a year.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artists React. Dune came out, we all watched it, we're all gaga over it.
I actually haven't seen Dune. I've been specifically not seen any trailers because I've been wanting to wait until I can see it in IMAX, and I haven't had that chance to yet, so hopefully I don't get anything spoiled today.
Well, you overcommitted because now we're gonna watch all the segments on VFX Artists React and you haven't watched it yet.
I know.
Yo, hey, I'm pulling a Clint today.
We're gonna be looking at old Dune and new Dune because old Dune is wacky, it's ambitious, and it's super jank.
It's super jank. I'm very fond of the one from the 80s because I saw it when I was like 12 or 13. And so when I saw it, I was like, this is amazing and super scary and jacked up. I think it's a good film, despite what we might see today.
Sit back, relax, listen to that guy as he does his Mongolian throat singing as you get the blood of your enemies smeared on your forehead and you prepare for space battle. And let's jump right in.
Oh, it's Willy Wonka.
It's Willy Wonka versus Thanos.
In the world of Dune, there's not really any guns because everybody has these personal shields that will basically stop anything that's high velocity from piercing them. However, you can kill them, but you need to use a bladed weapon where you get in close and then you push through the shield slowly to get the knife into their shield.
Oh, it's okay. So the shield is like a glitchy aura.
So like, real talk, this effect isn't that fancy.
It looks like they're doing these flickery things where it's just outlining the person and literally just taking that whole rotoed layer of the person, tinting it red or blue, setting it to a low opacity, some sort of transfer mode, and then glitching the position just a little bit, just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You can do that all in compositing. There's like no 3D work going on here.
Yeah, this is all just nice hand animation, basically. And honestly, all of Dune, the new Dune, is kind of like this, where it's not that the effects are like crazy technical achievements, it's that they're all so well crafted by amazing artists. The effect here is a shot you can do on your home computer. It's about your art direction and your touch as an animator. It's not about how crazy your tools are. I mean, maybe there's some extra fancy tools involved, but really at the end of the day, you could sit down in After Effects and you could bust out this effect. All right, so that's how they did the shields in the new Dune. How do you guys think they did it in the 1984 version?
Well, they didn't have computers back then.
It's funny you mention that because when you see this effect, it's going to look very computery. Very refrigerator-like. Wait. Was that even Patrick Stewart's face? Or was that a stunt double and they were just hoping the distortion would cover that?
That's totally a different dude.
Just hope the big bald head would make it feel like it's Patrick Stewart.
I mean,
No, Patrick Stewart has way more hair on the sides of his head.
Yeah, that guy was just bald. So that's why they had to blur it so much, because they put the camera right in the face of the stunt double. They're like, oh, they won't tell the difference. Those cubes, that's computer generated though, right? That's like actual
It is
CG.
not.
No,
It's not?
There's no CG in this.
Whoa, okay.
This is someone.
Okay, all right, dude, I'm excited to hear
Isn't
about
that
this.
funny though? It's
It
like,
looks CG.
imagine it's 1983 and you're working on this film and someone's like, dude, computer graphics are so sweet. I want to have like CG block dudes for this scene. And everyone's like, whoa. We can't actually render CG block dudes like that over your footage yet. Sir, like, we can't animate it to that degree and complexity.
We haven't even invented the JPEG yet.
Yeah, JPEGs don't even exist. So basically, what they end up doing is go, all right, let's reference what CG images look like from the time, but we're going to hand animate and hand draw everything in this scene.
Yep.
Whoa, okay, so every single one of those little cubes and squares are all hand-drawn.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what about the whole blur effect?
So, you know, they hand draw all these cubes on top of them and animate them. And then they're like, all right, it still kind of looks junky. So how do we make it fancier? And David Lynch is like, I want it to distort the environment. So they're like, okay. And what they had to do is they had to separate every facet of these geometric cube shapes into separate plates. So they drew the cube, and then you have to like make a separate plate for the front of the cube, and you have to make a separate plate for the side of the cube, and you have to make a separate plate for the hand part of the cube, and they'd print all of them one by one. Each facet of this cube, one by one, printed with an optical printer that would basically just move and distort the film plate for each facet. It took them 9 months to make this sequence.
Jeez, that's fascinating.
What I think is really funny about this scene, what's the point of having a shield that protects your body like that if that's how you look? That's why the new Dune is better. It's like you turn on your shield and it's there, but it's not like you can't see it all the time. You don't look like a frickin' like Roblox character.
Like, it just obscures what we're trying to look at too much. I can't actually see any of the choreography, the reactions, what's happening. Although when his hands kind of push through there at the end, that was pretty sweet.
So one scene that both films do very differently is how the Atreides family travels from Caladan to Arrakis. So sunset on Caladan, we're leaving our home planet. A new world awaits. They're traveling through outer space. So that's it.
Whoa.
This shot is the shot that shows you they've traveled from one planet to another.
Yep.
That's it. That's also kind of like a classic film thing, which is you don't want to like show people traveling to places.
Yeah.
Like they're either departing or arriving, and then you don't show like the hour of them stuck in traffic.
Right. So, Denis Villeneuve, amazing filmmaker, but he didn't have the guts to show space travel. David Lynch was all about it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So just real quick mechanics of how this works. They load up all their ships into this giant Highliner, I believe it's called, and the Highliner teleports from one spot to another, and they can take all their ships out of it. And the Highliner is piloted by a guild navigator, which is basically a human being that has consumed so much spice that they've warped and turned into this weird creature that can bend space and time, or they can see through space and time in order to navigate these ships through space and time.
So like Tabasco allows them to teleport.
You got
Tabasco.
it. You got it, 100%. You nailed
The
it.
capsaicin. Yeah.
So David Lynch is like, I'm going to show what it looks like to travel through space as a guild navigator warps you with their mind using one of these Highliner machines.
Oh, it's our boy.
So that's a guild navigator.
So his name is Steve.
Wait, what? You said the guild navigator was a human.
It is a human. It's a level.
It was
A human.
Was
it
a
was
human.
a human.
This is what the spice does to you if you eat too much. No, we're going to space now. We're going to travel through space. The decision to have them shoot light out of their little undulating mouths. I had to spice this morning.
So it's so funny for the star effects. It looks like they got like water with like fish food in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like just a bunch of particulates in water that they filmed against black.
They're trying to get the like
That
swirling
swirliness,
star
yeah,
effect.
yeah.
And now we're here.
That was kind of a cool transition.
There,
Okay.
and then they
Okay.
fade in.
Weak, come on.
After all that, it's just like, sir, we've ran out of animation budget for the big finale for the teleportation scene. They're like, F it, all right, crank the opacity.
So in the new Dune, they just got rid of this entire sequence and they're just like, hey, big space hole in
He
space.
just cut to this shot, basically minus the fade in.
Man, it would really suck to go to Arrakis after living on Caladan. Yeah, all right, we're going to the valley, guys. Here we go.
One thing they are nailing is atmosphere, which can get a little tricky when you're doing compositing, because when you're doing compositing, you're bringing in elements from a bunch of different things and basically cutting them together in your program. The thing is getting the light to play correctly when everything should be at different layers of atmosphere can get really tricky, because atmosphere does a bunch of weird things. Sometimes it adds light to things, sometimes it takes light away from things, sometimes it takes out certain colors but leaves other colors. Like you can see how there's no blue sky here, for example. The fog, the dust is actually catching light and scattering it and kind of almost emitting glow as if you're looking into like a cloud in front of the sun.
Exactly, yeah, because it's like when you have a bunch of particulates in the air and they're being lit up, they're tiny little particles that are reflecting light from the source directly to you. And when you have it broadened out like that, it's essentially just a giant like volumetric reflector.
All right, so the scene where they arrive on Arrakis, aka Dune, actually has a super impressive shot. Take a look at this shot. I want you to tell me how they did it.
Okay, first off, are all of the extras real there on the?
I'm not telling you, you tell me. You might have to go up to the TV, to be honest with you.
I think everything is a matte painting except for the small group of people to the right of the green flag there in the middle and leading up the stairway there. And that's where it ends, and everything else is a matte painting.
Go look closer. Go look closer.
I'm curious.
Tell me that that's a matte painting. Go look closer.
Whoa, okay. First off, I think they got some dummies. I think there's some dummies in that shot, because some of the people are moving and some aren't.
Wait, what the, well, okay. Okay, hold up. I think that's a miniature. Because there's a shadow over the people underneath the thing, so it looks like the people and the miniature spaceship are real, at least physically real.
Okay, so you got your miniature and you got your real people. So how do you get both of those into the same shot?
Okay, so if it's a miniature, even if it's a big miniature, it's trying to replicate the scale of something that's like a football field in size, so it's got to be really close to the camera, and there has to be some sort of like cutout so that any real people are off in the distance, unless this is a composite. I gotta know, is this all done in camera?
100% in camera. What you are looking at here is what the film looked like when it was developed. Because they went and filmed this at a stadium, at the Aztec Stadium in Mexico. They built a huge scaffolding, like 40 feet high. They put like the 10-foot big model on that set, and they have a little hole, and they're filming through it. And through that hole, 250 feet away, is the actual doorway with the stairs and the people with the flag that the people are walking down.
Okay, so it's not composited, it's just all done in camera with a
All done in
hole.
camera.
But so all of the people to the left and right, are those little toys?
Those are all dolls.
Dolls. So how many dolls?
This is a miniature shot. How come there's vanishing distance and like perspective in this shot if it's a miniature shot? How big, how long is that miniature? Is it 50 feet long?
Oh, those are other miniatures there that are actually smaller. They're forcing the scale a little bit. They're forcing the perspective a little bit.
Yep. If you look closely, if you look at the lines of the runway on the right below the ship, you can see it stop going straight and boop and tilt up. And what they've actually done is they've shifted the ground to like slant upwards to give the impression of a vanishing horizon point. Those are just smaller ships, smaller dolls, and the ground is slanted up to make it look like it's going to the distance, but it's only a few feet back. So the crazy thing to think about is like not only do you have to make a cool miniature set, but you then have to erect an entire scaffolding system to make it, split it up like 40 feet high with stairs and platforms for your cameras, and it all has to line up with another real set that you built in the distance. Like this is so much work.
But that's why this
is
the best looking shot in the entire film.
Yeah, there's some incredible miniature work in the original Dune. So I've been working on my my mastery of the voice. I'm going to use it on you. Here we go.
Leave a comment.
Dang.
Now you're compelled, right?
How dare you use the voice on me?
So I think one of the coolest things that the new Dune got right is how they designed the dragonfly-esque ornithopters.
Oh my god, they're actual dragonflies. Dragonflies are the coolest animals in the world, and I love any sort of ship designed after them. Like I said, I've been avoiding seeing any imagery from this movie, so this is my first time seeing any of it, and I love it.
Oh, I love that shot.
Look at that.
Wow, dude, that's
Wow.
so good.
That is, it is amazing. That motion blur on the
Yeah,
wings.
so good.
Yes! They nailed the motion blur for high-speed movement like that. Like we're talking like such high frequency of motion that like in a single shutter, not only does it go down, it goes back up and back down and back up again. But it's catching the light.
The
There's
swing.
moments there where it's, yeah, that shine. There's moments when it's catching the light and exposing it well enough that there's no motion blur, just built in.
How would you do that kind of like motion blur? Like normally when you're doing motion blur with visual effects, you would render out a vector motion pass basically, which is like your image, except it's a rainbow and each color corresponds to a different direction and speed that things are moving. But when you deal with something like this where it's moving so fast that it would go beyond any value you could possibly assign your motion blur, it's like you have to do it custom.
I wonder how much of that flapping is a post effect. I don't know if the render engines are actually good enough to replicate that the way we're seeing it, because how many sub-steps would you have to have in order to be able to have like that perfect
Many.
sort of, yeah, lots of sub-steps, a lot of sub-sampling. I have a feeling that a lot of the motion blur of the wings was pushed further in compositing rather than the render stage.
I agree.
That's really well thought out. Someone had to do a lot of research into real dragonflies in order to make sure that this shot looked as cool as possible.
Hey, real quick, let's show the Thopters in the 1984 version.
I don't even remember them.
Whee!
There's no wings.
There's no wings. They realized early on that if they tried to do flapping wings, it'd look really silly. So I don't know why they thought this was any better.
So next we should compare the scene where the sandworm attacks the spice harvester and see the different approaches they took with it.
So are the worms the spice? You gotta chew up the worms for the spice?
The worms poop the spice, and then you eat the poop.
Dude, what is this story? Wait, seriously?
I mean, that's not that weird. Alcohol is just yeast poop.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Although I wonder how much you have to drink to teleport through space.
It's called blacking out.
It's called blacking out.
Okay, wait, hold up.
They nailed this one.
This shot is pretty sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got this one right.
Wait, oh, dude.
It's kind of too bad it's all awkwardly framed for
Yeah,
this
it's
window.
Yeah, the framing is really weird.
It's like so static.
They must have gotten like really, really, really fine powder.
Yeah, wow, I'm impressed that that's the first thing you thought of, because that is the hardest challenge they had.
Because you can't do that with regular sand.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like, okay, we're gonna do a miniature scene. Can you bring in the miniature sand?
Yeah, miniature sand.
So it turns out they have miniature sand, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, really, really fine powder is just really, really mini
So
sand.
it's actually little micro glass balloons. So there's a method that you make these like really like microscopic glass particles. Hyper dangerous to breathe.
Oh my
So
God,
everybody
dude.
on set had to have like respirators and goggles, because if this stuff gets in your lungs, it would cut up your lungs.
and it would never leave.
It would never leave your lungs.
Oh my God.
So the reason why I caught on to that, Nico, is just how like fluffy the actual smoke looks. The actual like dust and smoke that's hitting the air actually looks large scale, but it can't be. They can't have some giant worm coming out of actual sand, so it has to be a miniature, but in order to get that sort of looking effect, the sand can't be real sand.
And you also might notice there's actually the camera's moving that shot. So when you're shooting stuff in miniature, you want it to look big, you have to shoot in slow motion. And they shot this sometimes at 120 frames per second, sometimes at 240 frames per second. It's film, meaning that film reel is spinning fast through that camera, just burning through that film. I'd almost bet there, you see how the worm bites on it after it explodes? I would bet those two things are supposed to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep. And in real life, it probably looked like it happened at the same time, but once you,
Yeah, nailed it! And you review it and you're like,
it's like close enough, I guess. Yeah.
so you're telling me that there's a modern version of that shot where
Yeah.
a worm eats a building?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
It's pretty sweet.
Ren, you're into science, right?
I like science.
Okay. There's like a phenomenon when sand, you know, how do I say it?
If you vibrate it and pump enough air through it, it becomes liquefied. It's
Exactly.
liquefaction is the name of it.
It's that liquefaction is a thematic element of this film.
So sick.
Oh, yes.
And I love that you don't actually get out of there.
Oh, you can see the. Oh, yes.
I'm just getting taking a lot of inspiration from. It's
Except
very.
it's way freaking sweeter because they're
Yeah.
hanging off the side of this
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
thing.
Not just awkwardly looking at a side table.
I really like how they executed this shot, and it's really cool seeing the similarities between 1984 Dune and 2021 Dune, and it's almost the same shot. In its soul, it's the same shot, just executed with so much more excitement.
I love the bold choice, just cover it up.
Yeah.
With the loading door. One of the coolest scenes is the Harkin Ambush scene at night, and specifically the crazy shield bombs they use. Yeah, that's so cool! Oh my God!
And the shield generator finally crashes, and the bomb the explosion bursts out of it. It's so cool,
Dude!
it's so cool.
It's so good.
Once again, it's just a good idea. It's good art direction.
But I just love that idea. I did a basic version of that for my satisfying render.
Yeah.
Remember the smoke thing that fills into the ship?
Yeah.
And it's a thing where it feels abstract until you're like, oh no, in our world, we can justify that. In our world, you're actually gonna see a contained shape fill up with an explosion before I don't know, it's so cool.
We got a hostage situation because today's episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. That's right. When you're connected to an unsecured network, your data out on the open internet is being held hostage. That's right. Hackers and other bad actors on the internet could steal your data. But with a VPN, you get that extra layer of encryption, and with ExpressVPN, you get the best VPN service that's out there. But that's not all, dunes. The best thing that a VPN does is provide me access to movies, TV, and other videos that aren't available in my region. I use ExpressVPN to tell these websites that I am in another location and thereby get access to these movies that I want to watch. And the best way to do that is through ExpressVPN. It's rated #1 by CNET and TechRadar. It's available in over 94 countries, and they have 24/7 customer service, and it's available on every device. Huge thanks to ExpressVPN for always coming through and sponsoring this show. And if you are interested in getting 3 months free when you sign up for a year, head on over to expressvpn.com/cord or crew. If you don't know how to spell, well, guess what? Just click the link in the description below. If you don't know how to click the link in the description below, well then get off YouTube. And now back to Arrakis with the boys on the couch.
My takeaway from this is that there's a lot of really cool ideas in Dune 1984 that I think just get marred by how much work and effort it is to execute on all these visual elements. I feel like Dune 1984 had a lot of inspiration for Dune 2021, so I'm glad it exists for that reason. I love all the art design. It's cool going back and seeing miniatures, but the new Dune is expertly crafted. And I don't know if sci-fi can get much better than that. So it's just cool. It's really cool going back and forth and seeing the differences and seeing how much cinema has grown and how far special effects and visual effects have come. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was a super fun episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Spider-Man 2 versus Spider-Man 2 versus Spider-Man 2 coming out soon.